Hi guys, welcome to this edition of Study Saturday. I'm excited to have you here. Today's video is about the top 5 most common academic English mistakes that my students make. It's not a scientific list or something, it's just the top 5 that when I was thinking about this video, that came to mind first, that I think I see the most often. And any of my former students or current students have probably seen a comment from this list at one point when they've received feedback from me on their writing. So let's get started. In no particular order, my number 1 is using first person or personal language. So in academic writing, you want to try to tend to stay neutral and unbiased, and you cannot stay formal and neutral if you're using first person. So you want to be very careful not to say, I think, or in my essay. So you have to find the ways around that. Sometimes using the passive voice can do that, or just restructuring your sentence in a way that makes sense without it sounding awkward. So maybe I'll do a video on passive and active voice at some point. Moving on, point 2 is using contractions. So saying I'm with I apostrophe M instead of I am. You wouldn't be saying that anyway because I would not be formal, but another example, don't should be do not. Won't should be will not. Wouldn't should be would not. So not contracting those two words together, that is considered informal. You should write both words out all the way. Number 3, starting sentences. This is a bit of an Ashley thing. My teachers in elementary school did teach me not to do this. I don't hear it as widely spread as some of these other tips, but you should not start a sentence with but, and, or because. So that should not be the first word in your sentence, but, and, because. Those 3 usually, other than it stylistically not looking very good or sounding very good, they usually lend themselves to the use of a fragment instead of a complete sentence. So you want to be wary of that and try not to use those words at the beginning of sentences. Usually there's a much better way to start your sentence or to write your sentence without starting them with these words. Moving on. The next, I want to say that another word that I have added over the years to that list is so, and I mentioned that also in my next one, which is my 4th point now, which is using informal words or street talk. So a lot. Instead of saying there were a lot of participants in the study, you would say there were many participants in the study, or the majority of students at the university participated in the study. Not a lot of students from the university participated in the study. Why? Because a lot is not specific enough. It's not formal enough, it's not specific enough, it's too vague, it's too informal, almost like street talk. So some of the other street talk or informal words would include things such as big or nowadays, or biased or hyperbole language such as huge or crazy. Those aren't words that you want to use in academic writing. You want to make sure that you come across as neutral, unbiased, as academic, formal, and not pulling opinions, that you're basing your writing and research. And these words just aren't used in academic research. So you want to be mindful of that, as well as filler words like, the word like you don't want to put in there, or just, or so. So you don't want to say that it was so difficult for the students to complete the survey in the given amount of time. You want to say that the students experienced a great deal of trouble as they were filling out the surveys due to the time constraints they were under. Something along those lines. So try to replace those filler words like, just, so, and then also some extra tips. This is going to depend on your vernacular, whether you even know these things or not, but saying something like bucks, oh, the sandwich cost $3, you would say maybe in a conversation, but not in written writing. You would write dollars, not bucks, or any kind of slang terminology you don't want to use unless it's really part of your research that you're doing, and then you need to clarify that and explain that. So you want to avoid any kind of slang. as well as common expressions. So something like jump to conclusions or sleep on it. Those aren't the kinds of phrases and expressions that you want to have in academic writing. Not only because not everybody is aware of those expressions, but it just doesn't fit with academic formal writing. And my last one is one that one that applies to me and my writing very often, is being wordy. Using too many words to explain something simple and direct. You want to try to be succinct in your writing. You want to get to the point, cut out the unnecessary details. That's what editing is for. And that's why sometimes these shorter length essays can be more difficult to write than the longer ones, because you really have to cut out the not important details and stick to the main points. So what do we mean by wordy? I'm going to give you an example of a wordy sentence. Ashley ended up having to drive her car all the way to The Hague from Alkmaar because she missed the last train leaving Alkmaar North, the train station where she can leave her car all day, that would get her to work on time. Very long sentence, right? So not all those details are important, and we can cut out the majority of them and say instead, Ashley drove to The Hague since she missed her train. Done. So you see the difference there. Often students are very wordy, and then they say, I don't know what I can cut out. All of my details are very important. I don't know what, I have to cut out a huge chunk in order to make my word count. Well, probably most of the words are not that important, and you can rewrite your sentences in a more succinct, clear way to get the point across in fewer words. Okay guys, I hope you've enjoyed this, my top 5 informal academic English mistakes that students tend to make, and I will see you next week on Study Saturday again. Bye!